Well, that's quite an intro. And of course, for those in the UK who are familiar with the Susan Boyle story, a lady who went on the talent show and sang this song. And I'd never forget, Anton Deck turned around and said, "You weren't expecting that now, were you?" And there's a reason why I played that. That will make sense as I go along. Well, welcome everyone. For those who've not been to this before, basically the format is basically read kind of the opening. It's all based on the book Dream, which I hope you have your copy. If you don't, if you're in the UK, contact me and order direct, because we get more money for the charities that way. Amazon seems to like to keep quite a lot of the money when you're there through them, but it's useful when you're not in the UK that way. Anyway, and then we'll go through a couple of poems that are around the theme, and then we'll kind of discuss. So the book is broken down into 5 sections, which spells dream. We've gone discovery, recovery. Now we're in envisioning, which is E. And envisioning is about seeing what is possible. Seeing what is possible. I'm going to read the opening section, and then we'll look at what comes after that. I'll tell you a bit of my story around envisioning and how that played into where I am today. Don't underestimate the power of your vision to change the world, whether that world is your office, your community, an industry, or a global movement. You need to have a core belief that what you contribute can fundamentally change the paradigm or way of thinking about problems. And that's a quote from Leroy Hood. And the question asked is, what contribution do you want to make in the world? That is assuming that we do want to make some contribution in the world. There's a good chance that everything you've experienced to date is preparing to do just that. It's time to explore what are your dreams, and how your gifts and experiences have helped prepare you to start living them. Developing a vision of where you're going acts as a beacon or a North Star, drawing you towards your destiny. There can be a sense of apprehension when you commit to doing what is required to live out your aspirations, but do not let that stop you. Stretch and take the next step and start a ripple that has the potential to spread out and transform your part of the world. Are you ready to show up and act so what appears to be a dream starts materializing as a reality? And then no one pulls faces like you. That's just brilliant. So what do you hear in that, actually, before I even tell you about myself? What does that stare in you when you hear that? What comes up?
Now you got me thinking. I suppose it ties in a lot with the Bob Proctor stuff I'm studying at the moment. I've just come to the end of his Science and Getting Rich course, which was written by Wallace Wattles. It's echoing the same message that you're giving now, is about sort of making some kind of contribution. Just doing something for others rather than for yourself. You know, rather than this sort of self-centered, selfish approach to life. What can I get out of it? Or, as they say, listening to, was it, what's in it for me? FM, what's in it for me? FM, basically. Yeah, that's really, so it is echoing what I'm already picking up from Bob and what I've picked up from Bob over the years.
Okay. Right. Heather, anything from you?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. There was a couple of things. How, if we put other people at the forefront of the kind of work we do, how that impacts more people. That's what was coming to me. So rather than putting ourselves in the spotlight, how we do that through others, and how they grow because of it. That's what was coming to me. Thank
you. Jane, any thoughts from you?
Cool.
Well, it's a similar theme, really. So the bit that when you're reading that really jumped out to me was the ripples in the pond. So it's the similar theme of we can all impact the next ripple in the pond. They can then impact, and so it goes on in a really positive way. So yeah, that was the piece that kind of really jumped out to me. How are we helping others so that they can help others in the world, and so that the message goes on.
Thank you. It's quite an interesting. Welcome, Margaret, and Raquel. Welcome. This particular part of the book really causes me to reflect on the reason I played the song. The song actually, where I ended, it says, "Now life has killed the dream I dreamed." That's literally what it says. And it kind of sounds very despondent, because it's saying, there was a time when I used to dream big dreams and things happened, life got in the way, and all of a sudden I gave up on it. And I think I'd just like to read something, and then we reflect on kind of the part that's still keeping that hope alive, plays the energy that gives us the opportunity to move on. So this piece is called Dreams. For those who are following the book, it's on page 78. Dreams, the birthplace of all reality. Not every dream becomes reality, but there is no reality that did not first start as a dream. Dream on and create the opportunity, endless possibility to create new reality. Yeah, just bear with me, Margaret. I'm going to mute you because of your background sound. Sorry. When you're about to speak up, you can unmute. All right. So I want to read that again. Dreams, the birthplace of all reality. Not every dream becomes reality, but there is no reality that did not first start as a dream. Dream on and create the opportunity for endless possibilities to create new realities. What comes up for anyone in there? What do you hear?
One of the things that comes up for me is somebody that I follow kind of often says, you know, look around you in the room you're sat in right now, and everything you're surrounded by started somewhere for somebody as a dream. And you're now surrounded by that, but somebody somewhere in history, be it recent history or a long way back, they had a dream one day and said, I want to make something happen. So it kind of from that place, and then it was that line of dream on and create the opportunity, because how many of us have the dreams but then actually don't act upon them? So really intentionally, actually we can all do things, as you put, you know, the endless possibilities, then needing us to create that opportunity based on that. So that, yeah, it was that jumped out, kind of that realization that, yeah, everything we're surrounded by started somewhere as a dream for somebody.
Yeah, I love what you say there. It's a kind of interplay between energy coming into form, but it comes into form through a conduit, which is a person who gave it room to expand within themselves, to then, like you say, do something that made it become reality. John, was there something you were going to say?
Yeah, just again, it's sort of echoing what I've sort of learned from Wallace Bottles and from Bob Proctor, is that everything you use, everything you have today, as Jane has said, is the result of somebody's dream. And one of the things in the Science of Getting Rich, it says you can impress your thoughts or your dreams upon thinking substance, God, universal power, whatever you want to call it. But if you rely on that alone, nothing will happen. We, as you said, are the conduit. We have to take action for that dream to come true, and we have to hold to that dream. Kennedy, when he asked Werner von Braun what it would take to get a man in, put him in a rocket, send him to the moon and bring him back safely, asked what it would require. And von Braun gave him a 5-word answer: the will to do it. And that's all you need. You can forget about all the resources. You can forget about the time. You can forget about the people you need to do this. It's just the will to see it through to completion. That's all you need. So yeah, this is, again, it's echoing a lot of what I've been studying over the past 8 weeks. And I've got about a year's worth of studying to do. I've got a lot of Bob stuff, a heck of a lot of Bob stuff. So, yeah.
It's an interesting point, John. And is it that we forget those things, or is that if the will is there, then even if we face challenges in all those areas, we keep going and we find ways to move through that?
Yeah, I think sometimes also we tend to sort of tell ourselves stories like, you know, well, the fear sets in. What if this goes wrong? What if that happens? And this could happen. So rather than focusing on that, just focus on the next step. Jack Canfield said, you're driving from one city to another. You don't think about the end. You just think about the next 200 yards, you know, if it's at night, and you see where you're going. You don't need to see the whole journey.
Right.
So just go to the next step and the next step and the next step, and you will get there.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Anybody else on that, on the dreams?
What I was noticing while you were talking about it is how much the dreams are our own, right? Even if there are, like Jane said, there are dreams all around us and people have created from that place. And how actually making your own dreams a reality can sometimes be hindered because you're living someone else's dream.
That's a good context there. Yeah, that is interesting. And if you were to take that a bit further, Heather, if you end up living someone else's dream, well, what difference would that make to your quality of life?
I don't think it's the quality of your life. I think it's more the aliveness that you're going to feel. Like Jane said, you know, it's kind of you'd be living your life through other people, wouldn't you? And then living your life through your own self view, or the vessel, or the channel, or the whatever John termed it as. Get it right in a minute.
Well, he's trying to confuse us.
Yes, no,
JD is good for me.
Yeah, you messing with my melon, but I mean, even that's a really good example, though, John. You know, what you've talked about into the room has been amazing, and it's really a good example of where you're sharing someone else's dream, someone else's words, someone else's experiences, someone else's wisdom, and actually, if that wasn't there, what kind of dreams would you do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay. Yes, Raquel, you were going to say something?
Yes, that's very interesting. I'm going to flip the coin there, because I was just thinking about my dream.
Okay.
And after hearing what you're saying, what's reality? And I kind of realized when everyone was talking that my dream was to be a designer, you know, fashion designer. That's always been my dream. And I always say, yeah, I'm going to go back to it. But in reality, what I now realize, after 30 years of working with technology, that was my dream. I didn't realize it. I was trying to think, I was thinking, well, that's just, it was a practical job, but actually it is. Let me explain. A few years ago, about 5 years ago, when my husband died, I decided to rediscover myself, to rediscover my dream. It turned out trying to go through all sorts of different things, you know, even going back to drawing, art, dancing, and then eventually fashion designing. I eventually went back to IT. So I now realize, in reality, my dream is in technology. But I didn't realize that. until now.
And how so you feel that that's what you want to do then? What does that do in your energy, and once you come make peace with that, what does that translate to for you?
Well, when I look back now, I really don't have all the energy I was trying to figure out what my dream was, you know, thinking it was fashion because I love it. I mean, it is a hobby now. But I realize I do enjoy technology, even though I was trying to say that. When I look back now, I realize I do enjoy it, you know, and that's probably why I've been doing it for so long. And everything I do or say or talk about is geared around that. So now I've just come to conclusion that that is my dream, and I don't have to keep on pursuing what I think my dream should be.
That is a very key point you just made there. The pursuit of things, and the energy that it takes to pursue something. And I think some of that is based on the premise that we have that somehow we show up in the world, and even though we didn't bring ourselves into the world, we somehow have control of all these things, and to just entertain the possibility that we've been equipped with possibilities in the world, and if we align with it, going back to what Heather was saying earlier, and just feel what is really coming through you and give yourself to it, you'd be making a difference in the world already. Anything on that before I move on to the next piece I want to read? Okay, so I'm going to go gifts, which is page 98. You need to know how precious the gifts you are carrying are. They are destined for the yet unknown and the yet unborn. They are a deposit of the creative flair to bring to fruition works of beauty and poise, creations that leave their mark on the consciousness of humanity. Start believing that what you carry is powerful. What you carry is effective. Give it voice. Give it form. Those ideas plead to be set free, that they may mingle in the hearts of mankind, that it may influence the way they see, that it may influence the way they speak, that it may affect their deeds to change the world we live in, one person at a time, each life worth every bit as much as ours. Inspiration is the breath of creation to begin the process of birthing invisible ideas into reality. We, the chosen wombs, to nurture the seeds to fruition. Capture those ideas, give them voice, give them form. Let us all behold the beauty of it all. You are a chosen one. Believe, conceive, and deliver. What do you hear? What resonates? What rings a bell?
I think sometimes we need to get past this idea that we are not worthy of whatever the goal is, the dream is. We should also ask ourselves, is the dream worthy of us?
Interesting. That's interesting. So going back to something that Raquel said earlier, that they're gifts, and I use the word gifts on purpose. A lot of us have an abundance of gifts, things we could do, things that we got good at, things we like to do, things we enjoy doing. And there's often the conversation whether which one should be the profession, which one should be the hobby, which one should just be entertainment, and there's a lot of maybe deliberation that goes on with that. But I think the starting point is just to acknowledge that we have gifts and to celebrate those gifts.
What it was making me, what I noticed, maybe it's a Freudian slip from you, Frank, is the fact that you put an S on gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was making me think about, from a worthy perspective, we are a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And an S, you know, and anything that flows from us or to us is that gift, whatever form it manifests in, kind of thing. That's what it was making me.
Yeah, I love that.
I was being cheeky at first. I was just like, oh, you know, oh, did he put an S on the end for a reason?
Yeah, it was really pointing to the fact that lots of stuff can come from there, basically, is what it is. But I take your point. We are the gift, and then lots of things flow from us, and that's all part of the parcel. And I love what John said, is this whole idea that we then begin to devalue those, because the mind does this comparison thing where it starts to say, well, that person can do that, but I can only do this, or that, you know, or yeah, that person's gift is maybe showcased to 5,000 people, or my gift is only showcased to 4 people, and therefore begin to do that comparison. Anything else come up for anyone else?
And I guess kind of following on from that part about it was just making me think about my daughter's in the middle of her mock GCSEs at the moment, and every bit of messaging that's coming her way is how much she's lacking from where she should be. And that messaging of you know, it's coming from a place of lack, as opposed to let's celebrate what this individual human being puts out into the world today. They won't put it out into the world once they've achieved that outcome. They're putting it out into the world right now, here and now, today, and to celebrating that. And it was just, as you were reading that, Frank, I was just thinking actually more about her right now, because all of her message, self-talk, because of the messaging that's coming through from school, is all about a place of lack, not good enough, not hitting targets. And actually then what that does is it dulls down her celebration of who she is and what she is as a person, and the difference she makes every single day to those around her just by being who she is. And that's being forgotten in a place in her life at the moment. And so it's really nice to just kind of be able to think through that. Yeah, it's so early on in life, isn't it, that then, you know, they kind of just forget about those gifts.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Jane. And that kind of echoes what John was saying. And I think what you're doing there is pointing to the genesis of where that kind of mindset, where we learn that kind of mindset, because where the educational system is based on some sort of idea that human beings are cookie cutter kind of things that you could take, oh yeah, take one human being, compare it to another and say, well, you need to do as good as that because that's the standard, and so on and so forth, without recognizing the uniqueness of every individual and the different phases in which they develop and how they develop and what their call is and what really matters to them. And the idea somehow that we all need this standard template of way of becoming who we need to become. And then we start seeking permission from the world to be who we already are, because we're not comparing up to these things. So that is actually a great share there in that regard. Yeah, learning to really just celebrate what's happening, what we have, and just using it in any way that the opportunity comes for us. Yes, Raquel.
Yes. Can you read that part of it again where you were talking about one person at a time to change the world.
Yes.
I
So
haven't got my book on me. So.
yeah, that's fine. So it says that, so I'll read the whole verse. Start believing that what you carry is powerful. What you carry is effective. Give it voice, give it form. Those ideas plead to be set free, that they may mingle in the hearts of mankind, that it may influence the way they see, that it may influence the way they speak, that it may affect their deeds, to change the world we live in, one person at a time, each life worth every bit as much as ours.
Mm. Yeah, I was just thinking everything that everybody was saying, you know, resonated with me, you know, in the sense that, like what Jason was saying, we are worthy. And it makes me feel now that I am worthy. It just needs one person. Believe in yourself, what you know, what your dream is, what skill you have, what gift you have. Just believe that's yours. And you don't have to compare with others, as you were saying. There should be no comparison. And when you don't compare, I realize when I don't compare, I do feel worthy, you know, because I just need to compare to myself, you know, and just look at myself and know that I can make a change no matter how small it is. So long as I believe I've made that change, then yes, I will feel worthy. And yes, I have made a difference in the world. And it just made me think, yeah, if we can all just look at what we, you know, our skills and what we've achieved, it doesn't matter how small, you know, just one small, like a teardrop dropping in a stream, it creates a ripple, you know, a little drop creates a ripple. So just one little skill, anything that I do now, I'm going to just appreciate that I've done it and it could make a difference in the world.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Raquel. And there's only one thing I wanted to point to there was, I think we can even push this back a bit further and say, you know, you're absolutely worthy because you're here. You don't have to do anything to prove that you're worthy. You are here. I don't know how many sperms were fought off. I don't know how many eggs were fought off. I don't know what those numbers were and what was going on, but somehow you are here. And you are here and you cannot but make a difference because you're here. Yeah, it's just what it is. Raina, you had your hand up at one point. Was there something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna follow on from what Jane was saying about her daughter, because I was in a similar situation before going into uni. I had applied for primary teaching, and the government had just changed the entry requirements, where teachers, to be a teacher, you need to pass the skills test in maths and English. I think I might have mentioned it to you, Frank, when we spoke. I can't remember, but it's like a timed test. Like you go into a sort of theory center type place, and each question you might be given 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute, or something like that. And if you fail it 3 times, then you're banned for 2 years. So my strength was English, so I passed that first time. But with the maths, every time I was like 1 mark away, 2 marks away. And it wasn't that I didn't have the answer, it was I was typing it in too slow and it would go on to the next question. So I had to, because I failed it, I had to change my course from primary teaching to education studies. So I'd done that for 3 years. And then at the end of it, I applied for PGC and I got onto it and I had to revise again. But I was just too sort of traumatized, and I thought, do I really want to be a teacher? So I left it, and it was upsetting, but in that I learned that I can teach in other ways, I can share in other ways. So obviously, like I do spoken word poetry and I've touched people in that way. And now I work for a foster care and agency, so I'm still having an impact on children like I wanted to in the start. And I think if I was a teacher, I wouldn't have gone down the route that I'm going down now. So outside of work, I'm studying to be a holistic naturopath. And I don't think that would have crossed my mind if I was in that area. So
Yeah.
It was tough. It felt unfair, but I can see why. Maybe I just wasn't meant to be in that place. 'Cause, yeah.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying there.
But
Yeah.
it does make you feel. I felt very unworthy, very not smart enough, not good enough. But
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying now. And I think one thing I'll call out, because in the work I do, one of the things I help people do is kind of make a separation between what the mind is always trying to protect us, quote unquote, from dangers that it thinks there are. And somehow it thinks that if we have supremacy in things, then that's what makes us safe. But it's obviously confused. Now, and the mind takes shortcuts because it seeks efficiency. So that's why it always goes into the mode of comparing, because comparison is a very quick way for it to make a quick decision about something. And really what's on offer for us is to step outside of the mind and recognize the mind's need for wanting to do that, but not necessarily identifying with it ourselves, to say, well, I know that I am part of the whole and I am part of the divine, and I cannot be measured in these terms. And really my self-worth and validation is not based on that. Because the mind will do what the mind, and that's why you have to be careful if you're trying to control your mind and stop it doing this and that. I think you just need to appreciate that the mind is duty bound on certain things. The mind will spin any story it wants to spin based on what it thinks it's trying to protect you from. What's more important is you recognize that you don't need to buy into those stories. So you observe it, you hear his stories, and you thank the mind for its contribution. And then you recognize the deeper truth, which is you are of infinite worth and you are worthy because you're here. Right. I want to kind of read another piece here. This one is called Such a Time as This. And this is page 85 for those who are following in the book. And it's based on a piece of biblical text, actually, Esther 4:14, where it says, who knows, maybe you were made for just such a time as this. Seemed innocuous at the time, all those jobs I did, the many skills I honed, the people along the way, how I was guided through this maze called life to arrive here for such a time as this. So it all unfolds, piece by piece. They come together. Oh, what a gift this hindsight. As I begin to realize, nothing was ever wasted. All I have been through accounts for such a time as this. I'm living it. It's happening to me, walking in my destiny. Who would have thought it? The universe working through me to achieve more than I could ever dream at such a time as this. So I am blessed our paths have crossed, laid out as a master planner, hatched this wonderful plot to sharpen one iron with another, that creation might be enriched, to release a sweet aroma of love at such a time as this. I think of you, Heather, when I read that, actually. Yeah, what do you hear? What resonates?
Just from what Raina's, I think I said that right.
Raina, yeah.
Shared, and also obviously your input, the poem or the text piece. How this like balance of right and wrong, like if something doesn't go right, how it really stops us from, makes us wait sometimes, makes us rush right into doing stuff, and actually the time of presence may well not serve you in those experiences, you know. So what's happening to you in the present, i.e., you know, you didn't get through to the maths exam, for example, how sometimes that can feel sort of like wrong, And so what happens in front of you, like the presence, how that I'm thinking more about, is it the presence that's our guide, so what's happening in front of us, or is it actually the grander thing that's happening around you at that point? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying there, and in terms of the, yeah, because Raina almost told us a story that lines up with this piece, really, because it's kind of saying, at the time when I was experiencing this, it felt wrong, but ultimately in hindsight, when I look at it, actually it wasn't, because here I am, and this has opened up these doors, and if that happened, this might not have happened. And I wonder if we had that mindset, like you said, Heather, how would we deal with our present, even though there's a narrative about something being wrong? How would that help us to navigate things that appear to be unfortunate, things that appear to not be how we thought they should have done? John, anything from you on that?
Well, just thinking, I mean, sometimes we get fixed on one sort of idea, one goal, one dream, and we don't always achieve it. It doesn't come, again, it's not, for whatever reason, it goes wrong, and we think, oh, that's the end of that road. But what we don't realize is where, I suppose, faith comes in, is that we need to have faith in that the greater intelligence will have universal power, God, Allah, call it whatever label you want to put on it, that which is, has a better plan. And of course, with Raina, that's exactly what came out, is now she's got something better than what she originally wanted.
Yeah.
Although you can't see that at the time.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, all of that is wrong. But if you just hold the faith that there is that or something better, and believe that something better will come up. I've seen a lot of cases where that's happened, where people's dreams that haven't sort of come forward, but then later on, at the right time, the bigger, better dream has appeared, and they think, wow, I would never have taken the other dream. Now I know I've got this.
Right. I'm hearing you. That's great. Fumi, I'm conscious we haven't heard from you. Is there anything you want to add to that? There you go. I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think it's all about your person. That is, your dream life actually has to do with your person too. It has to do with you working on your dream. You know, apart from dreaming, you have to, put it into reality by working, like what my speakers have said, that having intention, or you had a dream, but only to find out that you have other area of a specialty. But it all boils down on working hard on your dream to make it a reality.
Okay. So you're calling out the need to go beyond just aspiration to action. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. You aspire, but then you need to go beyond that to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for me. And I think that this is a good segue to kind of say that there's something John mentioned here that I wanted to jump onto, which is this idea that sometimes it's not even a different dream, sometimes it's the same dream, but just the timing. So for me, for example, in my original incarnation of wanting to become a coach, I thought, okay, here's the plan. I'm going to do all these clever things to raise residual income that will replace my current salary, and then I can go and become a coach. I was actually going to open a shop and say, coach here, well, do step in, which I'm not sure how that would have worked for that. But in the end, actually, things went completely wrong for me. But in a way, brought up all all the things that the inner work that I needed to do to understand my motivation, to understand, you know, what was going on for me and stuff like that. That led to a lot of healing, led to me learning to work with people and let people help me and support me rather than trying to do everything on my own, and so many different things that led to. It led to my current understanding of inside out success rather than you know, outside in, trying to call myself a success just by looking at markers externally rather than realizing that I was successful already and going somewhere to happen. Those kind of things came up for me. But I was almost like Susan Boyle in the song, you know, now life has killed the dream I dreamed. That's how it felt, like, you know, that's over. And then I thought, well, I'll just focus and concentrate on what is bringing in the money right now, which was my project delivery, IT project delivery work, which helped me pay up all the damage I created with all my clever stuff that I was trying to do. But ultimately, eventually, some other coaches came in from a particular place and they worked with us there to do something. And it sparked that dream again, because I looked at them and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Because my way of helping people back in the day was to give advice and to be the consultant and the brainy one in the room. That was the idea. So when I saw the way they came about, they were helping us do our own thinking, and they were opening up a space for us to process and things like that. I thought, oh, that is interesting. Actually, yeah, you know, and I spoke to them and started talking to them, and they said, oh yeah, and they all went to this particular company and got trained there, which I think, Heather, we got trained in the same place, isn't it? You're a barefooter, right? Yeah. So I ended up at this place, got coached there and whatever, and got my coaching accreditation and able to support people and help people find their own freedom, find their own dream, and find their own way of making impact in the world. But it was the same dream, but it looked like it died, but then it hadn't. Here's what I can say for you. One of the greatest compliments I get now is there's a complete lack of judgment from me if you sit in front of me. None whatsoever. But I guarantee you, if I hadn't gone through what I went through, the opposite would be the case, because I was the chief man of judgment. Say, you know, you just need to sort your stuff out. You know, you just need to, you know, straighten up and fly right. Because I had this concept in my mind that wherever I was or whatever I was doing was down to me being that great and that clever. And it's delusional, really, because I didn't have my stuff together either. But the story was created that I did relatively to other people. But when I fell to a place financially where I never thought I could ever be, I realized that everybody is just a couple of silly decisions away from something that's undesirable. And that gave me empathy for everyone to say, you're not going to get judgment from me, because I've been in dark places, and I know that when I'm in a dark place, I don't need someone to judge me. I need someone to sit with me there and help me a way to reignite the hope and come back to saying, yeah, I still have something to give because I am here. And then just use exactly the thing that seemed to be the problem as your superpower to actually make it out there in the world, because you've had that for a reason. Yeah. Were you going to say something for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you have just said it all. That is, the willpower was there, so you were able to conquer all the challenges and everything. So that's very good.
Thank you for it. So I'm going to read a piece, 104. It's called Prison. Caught in a prison of my own making, erected with bars of my own design. No obvious way out. The original intent to protect me now conspires to constrain me, hostage to that which was meant to preserve me. Living under the sentence of its blackmail, afraid to reveal its ploy to the world, thriving only possible through freedom from this persistent tyranny. Reframing this scene to a new reality where fear no longer terrorizes me. Firing up brain cells to mobilize positive energy, signaling the chance to grow. Getting curious about what triggers me. fact-checking elaborate tales of impending travesty, mitigating true concerns, to feel the fear and press through, to serve the world from a place of liberty.
Wonderful.
What's coming through for people on that? And by the way, I'm open to people resisting it as well. It doesn't have to be, I agree. It could be, actually, no, I don't agree. It's all welcome.
I think the only thing that comes to mind is something Bob said, and he was quoting something else, is that you cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one. And if it's one of your own creation, you may think that everything's fine and not see it for what it is.
I like that. I like that, John. I like that.
I think it was also reminding me sometimes you can feel really stuck. And actually, if you look up, there's nothing holding you there. Do you know what I mean? Like the freedom is sometimes up there or in front of you rather than kind of looking behind or at the side or.
Yeah, I love that, Heather. And really that's the clever play of words I was going for in the first verse, was this whole idea that it's a prison of your own making. It's not real. It's thought fabricated. It's just but the thing is, when anything is reinforced with a feeling, we tend to think because there's a feeling that makes it true or that makes it real. It's not. The feeling itself is generated by the way you're thinking about that thing. And if you flipped the way you're thinking about it, all of a sudden it's different experience. And this is going back to what I was alluding earlier about the mind actually has a way of thinking it's trying to protect you from something. So if you're going into the unknown, which very often maybe something you've not done before, something you're not used to doing, and that's what's in front of you to do as a next step, you can often feel, the mind will come up with all these reasons as if trying to protect you from it. But when you recognize that it's just the mind being concerned, that's why I went to this bit of saying, okay, getting curious about what's triggering you. Well, what is the concern here? What is the mind worried about here? Fact-checking elaborate tales of impending travesty. In other words, what's the worst that could happen here? Okay, so it doesn't go right. I'm going to learn something. Yeah, is someone going to die here? What exactly is it here? So you're mitigating true concerns. Okay, is there something I can do practically that will put me in a position that will address that? Yeah. So if you're concerned about, am I going to come out? Okay, is there some preparation you could do? Is there some research you can do? Whatever. So it's not saying completely dismiss any sense of apprehension. It's saying converse, find out, is there any substance to it? Work with it. And then once you're satisfied, then okay, it's just the mind being the mind, and you just take the next step. Because everything you now feel comfortable with, at one point you would have felt uncomfortable with.
I'd just add to that, Frank, the two things that are kind of speaking to me. One is that, a lot of people that I work with are kind of looking into the future all the time. So I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I'm heading towards this, I'm heading towards that. And there's a pressure, and so that prison is almost a pressure world that they exist in. As opposed to just, as John said, kind of one step in front of the other, and just actually, where am I at right now? Because I'm always making progress. It's a bit like that person who's trying to climb the mountain and is always looking at how much further they've got to go. Yeah. They don't look over their shoulder to realize how far they've already come.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was shouting loud and clear to me is that the biggest prison that we can be in is the one created by our own limiting beliefs. That we can create, we can be so many wonderful things every single day of our lives. But if we're holding on to beliefs that limit us, then that colors everything that we do. And you know, I've just written down here, it's the getting present to whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it works, whether it doesn't. It's all a learning opportunity. You live in a space of what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
Then to me, you're not in that prison.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And again, actually, a big piece of my word is helping people see that the future does not yet exist. So a lot of suffering that we put ourselves through is based on something that doesn't exist. It's not there. And yeah, that's a good piece of awareness to have, is when you're lost in something that hasn't happened, then you kind of have to look back and think, okay, let's come back, let's become present again to where and who we are. Right. So in the interest of time, I'm going to read one final piece, which is called The Ripple, which, funny enough, quite a few people have used that already today. We're in one of the greatest fields of service, helping others live a fuller life. So that's a reference to the work I do and a few people on this call do, which is helping people build.
What number is this, Frank?
Sorry, 114.
Thank you.
This is page 114. Making the world a better place, one person at a time. Once the pebble drops, the ripple starts. No control over how far it goes. That's the way influence grows, completely out of control. Start one now.
I need to get this book.
Yeah, I'll DM you the details, and then yeah.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks.
So what resonated did you jump on that, please?
Sorry, I'm going to be really annoying and ask you to read it again.
Yes, of course. Right. So, making the world a better place, one person at a time. Once the pebble drops, the ripple starts. No control over how far it goes. That's the way influence grows, completely out of control. Start one now.
Yeah, I think what sort of hit me there is everything you do, everything you say, every action you take has an effect somewhere at some point. And same with actions you don't take. Because if you don't take action at a certain time when you should have, that can also have consequences, not just for yourself, but for somebody else further down the line, somebody you should have made contact with that might have made a difference to their life. And you didn't because you were full of self-doubt or whatever the reason was. And again, this ties in with the teaching I've been studying for the past few weeks about, action and reaction, causing a change in circumstances, conditions, environment, etc. So yeah, it is a case of, for me, thinking about what you do, what you say, the way you act, and how you interact with other people, or in some cases not interacting when you should. How many times has something happened we thought, if only I'd said this to that person, if only I'd done that with that person. And what stopped us was our doubt in ourselves. It's our self-belief that, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I'm not good enough to do that. So that's what sort of comes through from me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Raina says one person at a time. Do you want to say more there, Raina?
I just wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, but yeah, that's what stood out to me. Like, it's not about how many people you're impacting at once. Like, one is enough.
Yeah.
And with the course that I'm on now, naturopathic nutrition, eventually I'll be seeing clients once I'm qualified, and that'll be one-to-one work.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, like the way the healthcare system is, you can hardly see a doctor. Like, when I've tried, it's like, oh, send us a picture, or just go on, like, you know, it's not very person-centered anymore. So yeah, I think going back to that is what's important.